How many of you Gen Zs here regret going to college? I think millennials and Gen Zs have a lot in common in terms of like education, because all of them have been fucked over. Every single person. VTubers are the antithesis to that, but anyway. After college, I was working at a dead-end job, but I've applied for entry levels. I tried reaching out, called companies, tailored my resume every day, took feedback, went to events, and did everything. I did get a job after an interview, but it's not permanent and it will end soon. I'm starting to feel anxiety for spending 3 years in college for a degree that I thought that was interesting and fun, which was business economics. I don't have any debt, but I spent 3 years giving hard work and mental effort and learned accounting, financing, and all that, which could have been used for working instead and saving money. However, no matter how much I have done, nothing seems to work. Anyone else feeling the same? I know there are a lot of people who may have studied, for example, computer, and fell into the same situation. If you're currently or have been in the same situation, what did you do? Is there hope for us? Oh, scammed. Minus $10,000 moment? Chat, I have a few thoughts about this, and I've talked about it a few times on stream. Firstly, I don't think you should automatically feel stupid for going to college. Like, maybe regret is the more appropriate word, the right word, but it depends on, like, why you went. I've said this before, I think college has its purposes. I think it has a purpose. If you were going for the purpose of trying to be a doctor, an engineer, a lawyer perhaps for law school, like any profession that requires that high degree of education, I don't think that's not a waste of your time. That's not a bad thing. Now, that doesn't mean you're not gonna get fleeced along the way. Again, college is not your friend. I had a friend that I remember talking to, and they said they were like $180,000 in law school debt in California, and I'm sitting here like, what the fuck? Like, they're a business and they want to make money, and people don't realize that, and it's kind of fucked up. They're gonna bend you over on parking permits for school. Books. I hated purchasing books. A ton of classes that you shouldn't need to have to take that have nothing to do with your actual major. I remember that. I hated it so much. I felt like I was wasting my time. But you had to take them or you fucking fail, right? They're not making you do that because they care about your education. They're making you do that so that you pay for every single one of those fucking classes, like social studies or some shit when you're trying to be a doctor. It is 100% by design, and it shouldn't be that way. Again, if I was an evil Corporal Borpo and I was like, okay, how do we get more money out of people? I would be like, yes, make them take mandatory classes, but they don't actually have anything to do with the degree that they're doing, like underwater basket weaving or something.
Yo, smugglers, here to quickly interrupt your latest React viewing to tell you about this adorable SmugAlana Fire plushie. Kick it, print it, do whatever you want, but she goes away forever, ever, ever on June 24th, so grab yours while you can.
What did you guys take? I actually can't remember. I think I took Spanish and some sort of like project management. I forget. Like, I was so boring. Spanish wasn't boring. I thought that was fun, but I didn't need it. I wasn't doing a language degree. I had to take religion poggies. Oh, that's so poggy woggies. Geology. Oh yeah. German, French are mandatory in the Netherlands in college? Really? I took psychology and art history. Yeah, that's a common one. I remember it was the classical studies. But anyway, like I said, it sucks. I hated it. Because I knew I was wasting my money. It was like, I don't know, like $1,000 or something for a semester. And I was like, I'm never gonna need this. Like $1,000, are you serious? But did you waste your money? If you're going for those like specific high education jobs, of course not. You're doing what you gotta do to get there. It happens. I feel bad for this guy. The problem isn't that you hated college or never wanted to be there. The problem is that a lot of people essentially got groomed since like middle school or like early high school to believe that if you didn't go to college, you were gonna be a failure. And that meant even if you don't want to be a doctor or an engineer or a lawyer, an architect or whatever, and you want to do something a little easier than that, you still needed to go to college. That's the criminal part to me. Like, personally, that's what I hated. The implication that you are going to fail and like put the fries in the bag and go to McDonald's for the rest of your life if you didn't go to college or do anything. Like, go to trade school. I don't know. Be a hairdresser or something. Like, I don't know. Be an electrician. Carpenter. Building houses. New Zealand pushes college through high school. Dude, I remember the first time we had an assembly, and it was like in the middle of the day, and it interrupted our classes, where they all pile you into like the gymnasium, and they fucking talk to you about your fucking choices in life. And I'm sitting here, I'm like 13 or 14 years old, and I'm like, I have to think about this? Like, I have 4 years of school still. Like, what am I doing here? West Coast USA was telling us to start thinking about college major in 7th grade. I know, it just, oh my God, I hated it. I put it off forever. I remember my English teacher was the career like counselor or something, and I'm 15 years old, and I walked into her room and I said, ma'am, I literally don't know what to do. My parents want me to go be an engineer. I don't want to be an engineer. She's like, oh, well, maybe you should be an engineer. And I'm like, I don't want to. I'm like 15 years old. I just want to play League of Legends and shit. What the fuck? Play Dota and World of Warcraft. What's your dream? 2,500. Yeah, I want that fucking gladiator mount. Yeah, you should be an engineer. You just have to be. Yeah, do it now. And then they make you fill out forms. But like, there's another point to this as well. I don't think regret always comes from the outcome, chat. I think regret sometimes comes from just being a young kid and not knowing the options that you had. Like my brother, he's older than me. He went to school before I did to be like, he did PR, he did human relations, and like worked in like jobs like that. And after that, he did another degree for English or something. I can't remember, like English. And that was useless. And then after that, he ended up going to a trade school to be an electrician. He's an electrician now. Like he was an apprentice. I think he's like actual electrician now. But he didn't know that was ever gonna be an option, and that was really pushed by my parents. Like my parents are like Slavs, and they loved pushing us into going into college because that's what they did. But what they don't understand is that they fuck you like that. They want to get your money. They want you to push into being a college grad, and it doesn't fucking matter. That's why I use the term groomed, because at least where I went to school, I was told to think what I want to study in college like a million times since like middle school or early high school. I can't remember. But never once was I told that trade school even exists. The only time I knew about what trade school was is that before that I lived in Switzerland, and it's called Berufsschule. And they teach you that probably at age like 10 or 11. And they talk about that all the time, and it's basically trade school. Like, yeah, it's not like something that people are really sought after, and they talk about it, and they're like, oh, I'm gonna go to Berufsschule, and I'm like, oh, well, I'm gonna go to college. But it's not really frowned upon. At least they educate you on it, because I don't think that college is pushed that hard over there in Europe, at least. And I know there's other countries that do the same thing. Oh, and this is another really huge point. I think another thing that leads to regret to people like this is going to college too early. I went to college when I was 17, or like 17, maybe a little bit and a half. There's so much like fucking pressure from going to, at least in my experience, from schools to go to college. But there's also a ton of social pressure. You graduate high school, a lot of your friends are going to college. They tell you how fun it is. and they're going to all these parties, and at least for me, it made me feel like I wasn't going to college. Not only I was like a loser, but I was falling behind in life. But in reality, again, this is just me, my personal experience, I shouldn't have gone straight out of high school. I think I probably should have gotten a job. My parents should have been like, okay, Alana, maybe do like a year of like school and then maybe you'll do college. But no, it was like this fucking pressure, just this pressure cooker. I wasn't ready. I think a lot of people feel like that, even if they're 18 or 19 years old. I wasn't responsible enough. I didn't have any idea what I was gonna do for a living. I didn't know what I was signing myself up for or what I was getting myself into. And look at me now, chat. I'm an anime girl. Like, we need to normalize telling kids that sometimes it's okay to wait for college or go to trade school or learn about yourself a bit more and get some life experience. Find out what it is you actually enjoy. And more importantly, give yourself time to mature. So you don't just skip class and not do your homework or your work like I did, because I was burnt out from high school. Some people are super smart and can just go straight out of high school and they do super well. Like, I get it, respect that. I was not that kid. That went really poorly for me. I dropped out after 2.5 years or 3 years. I couldn't do it anymore. I literally just burnt it both ends. And some people just need to get a job first. Go develop a hatred for corporate America just like everyone else. That'll give you more conviction to do your schoolwork, very likely, or like keep going to your trade school and get like a cool job. You're 18, too stupid to drink, but getting a crippling loan is fine. Yes, dude. And then the pressure of student loans too. That killed me. I remember when I started getting letters from like the whatever, like not the IRS, but like whatever's in charge of your loans, like in New Zealand, and they were like, oh yeah, well, you gotta start paying your shit. And I'm like, but I haven't even finished yet. You want me to get a job and start paying you? And I'm like, ugh, I don't know, man. It's compounding. It's compounding. I took a gap year after high school and just worked and decided I didn't want to go to college. That's based, man. That's based as frick. Where's our money? But yeah, I feel bad for this guy. Like, you think you want to go be an engineer and then you realize it's fucking really difficult. Like, it is actually pretty fucking hard. One size fits all doesn't work for people. I know, and that's why college is pushed so hard, because they realize like, hey, if we push people into getting permanent debt, then we get more money out of them, even if they get fucked over and then they don't get a job and then they go to McDonald's and work.